In a mansion filled with marble halls and golden chandeliers, silence had reigned for years. The millionaire's daughter, despite every treatment and therapy money could buy, had never spoken a single word. Doctors called it incurable. Specialists gave up, and her father resigned himself to the heartbreaking truth that his little girl might never have a voice. But then, one quiet afternoon, he walked past a room and froze. From behind the door came a soft sound, something he had never heard before in his home, humming. And when he pushed the door open, what he saw would change everything he thought he knew about his daughter and about those he had overlooked. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss more inspiring stories. Share your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done in the millionaire's place? The mansion stood like a fortress of silence. Its tall marble walls and golden chandeliers could not disguise the emptiness inside. At its center lived a little girl, the daughter of a powerful millionaire who had never spoken a single word in her life. Her silence was not just medical, it was something deeper, a mystery that no doctor could solve, no therapist could explain. The man, hardened by wealth and the pressures of status, treated her condition as another problem to be fixed, another task for his endless money to solve. Yet, no matter how much he spent, the silence lingered. In his frustration, he hired a new nanny, a black woman whose gentle demeanor contrasted sharply with the coldness of the house. She wasn't chosen for her experience, but out of desperation, and many in the mansion whispered doubts about her presence. Still, she carried herself with quiet strength. Slowly, her presence began to shift the rhythm of the home. The little girl, though still mute, seemed calmer around her. There was something different about the way the nanny treated her, not as a patient to be cured, but as a child to be cherished. The millionaire, often distant, barely noticed the small changes at first. But soon, subtle cracks began to appear, in the silence, hinting that something extraordinary was about to unfold. Days stretched into weeks, and the mansion began to hum with a new kind of life. The black nanny, though treated with suspicion by the staff and ignored by the wealthy father, carried herself with a grace that could not be shaken. She played with the little girl in ways no one else dared, letting her run barefoot across the garden, painting her hands with colors, humming soft tunes while brushing her hair. Servants muttered that it was inappropriate, that such familiarity blurred lines, but the girl's face told a different story. For the first time in years, her eyes carried light instead of emptiness. The millionaire, absorbed in business and power, barely noticed the transformation. But whispers of disapproval began to reach him. Some relatives mocked the very idea that a black woman could connect where doctors had failed. Others warned him it would ruin his daughter's upbringing. Yet the nanny continued, unshaken, pouring love and patience into moments no one else cared to create. One late evening, while the mansion's halls echoed with stillness, the father passed by his daughter's room. He stopped when he heard something, faint, two soft voices blending together. It wasn't speech, not yet. It was humming, tender and unbroken, like a secret language woven between the child and the nanny. He froze outside the door, the sound wrapping around him, pulling at emotions he had buried beneath wealth and pride. Something was changing, not just in his daughter, but in himself. The silence that had ruled his home for so long was beginning to break, and it frightened him as much as it gave him hope. The night was heavy with rain, each drop tapping against the wide mansion windows like a reminder that the world outside could not be controlled. The millionaire paced the hall, his mind restless after weeks of confusion and disbelief. His daughter had changed in ways doctors once said were impossible. Her eyes met his now, her hands reached for things, and faint sounds escaped her lips when she tried to mimic the nanny's tunes. But pride clashed with fear, and the whispers of judgment from friends and relatives poisoned his thoughts. They claimed his daughter's progress was mere chance, that relying on the nanny was shameful, beneath him, a stain on his name. That night, unable to resist, he stood once again outside his daughter's door. What he heard pierced through every wall he had built around his heart. The nanny sat on the rug, swaying gently with the child in her lap, both of them humming, a melody that rose and fell like waves. And then, without warning, the little girl opened her mouth and let out a fragile word. It was broken, trembling, but it was speech. The millionaire stumbled back, his chest tightening as disbelief and wonder collided. His daughter had spoken her very first word, and it had not been in the arms of a doctor, nor under the watch of his wealth, but while pressed close to the woman so many had told him to dismiss. The power of the moment was undeniable. For the first time, his pride cracked, leaving him bare in front of a truth he could no longer deny. The room was still, yet the weight of the moment lingered like a heartbeat in the air. The millionaire stood frozen at the threshold, watching as his daughter clung to the nanny, humming again, and then, almost miraculously, forming another faint word. Tears welled in his eyes, ones he had buried for years under layers of wealth, status, and pride. In that instant, the walls he had built around himself crumbled. It wasn't the countless specialists he had hired, the expensive therapies, or the sterile machines that had unlocked his child's voice. It was the patience, love, and humanity of a woman the world had looked down upon. He realized how blind he had been to the truth, that compassion was far more powerful than privilege. His daughter wasn't healing because of money. She was healing because someone believed in her when no one else did. The weight of his prejudice pressed against him like a chain he was finally ready to break. He knew he owed not just gratitude, but transformation. From that day on, he vowed to stand beside the woman who had given his daughter her voice and to shield her from the cruel judgments of the world. The story of a child's first word became something greater. It was a lesson that no wealth could purchase and no arrogance could erase. As he watched them together, he wondered, how many lives remain voiceless, unheard, simply because the world refuses to listen to the ones it deems unworthy?